All right, welcome back, everybody. It's been a few minutes. I just kind of topped off the battery in my camera, and I'm jumping into another little mini lesson with Arduino and physical computing. This is kind of a follow-up to the last one I did, which was just wiring up a little power switch here for the LED. So if we flip that switch, we can turn this light on and off, which is great. Uh, it could be a very useful tool to have. However, this may not be exactly what you want for whatever you're building. Maybe you want a push button. A push button is a little bit different in the fact of, I'll take that off and we can see it a little better, in that it only is bridging the same switch circuit, that the switch was, when you press it and are holding it down. There are some that you press and will lock into position, like these switches here, but the most common that you'll run into are the momentary push switches like this. They come in a variety of sizes and shapes. Some of them have 4 leads, some of them have 2. It depends on what you're buying and how much money you're spending and things like that. I've got this one in particular just because it's bigger and a little easier to see everything. This one has 4 leads, and the ones with 4 leads, 2 on each side, that kind of clamp down like so. They generally bridge across the leads diagonally. So this is going to come in on the lead closer to me, and it's going to leave on the lead further out. I don't know if you kind of see that on the switch. At the output that's not connected to anything at the moment is coming out on the side that's further from me, whereas the input is coming out on the side that's closer. That's not always the case, but generally I find that it is. I may pull in this circuit board that I soldered up for some of my students on a previous example a little bit later, but it's got the same thing. It's got a button and an LED, technically 2 LEDs, but this particular one had only 2 leads, so it took a little bit different, I should say, approach to wiring it up. All right, so let's just hop right into it. I'm not going to go through everything right now like I did in the last video, just because, well, that's a very short video. You can go watch it. It's in the same playlist as this one. I'm just going to disconnect these other wires here just so they're out of the way. But I'm going to keep everything right here. So I already know that this one bridges diagonally. I tested it beforehand. So I've got power coming to the switch from right here. And then I've got the output is going to come here, and I'm just going to connect it to the LED over here. So now when I press this, it's pretty straightforward. It's the same idea as the switch that we used before, in the fact of electricity is not flowing until we tell it to. However, unlike the switch, we cannot pivot between 2 different states of onness, if that makes sense. We couldn't switch between 2 different LEDs like this. This button only has off and on as an option, and you have to physically hold it here in order for it to be powered. So this might be a little more useful on something that isn't an LED in your circuit. I tend to focus on the LEDs for my teaching examples just because they're very simple, straightforward, and it's very obvious when it works. But again, if you had maybe a tone generator, you could set it up so, like a synthesizer, each button could play a different note and things like that. That's going to be kind of it on the switch, just in terms of completing the circuit. My next video, which again, if you're kind of watching these in series, you should see shortly after I top off the battery in this camera, we're going to be approaching things a little bit differently. I've got, you can see one of my desktops up top, so we'll be using that to bring in some Arduino code, and essentially we'll be able to get input from the button and use that to have the Arduino respond and turn the lights on and off. So that's going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed it, if you learned something, feel free to give a like, subscribe, all the YouTube, blah, 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 blah. You've heard it before. definitely appreciate it. Definitely helps out. If you had any questions or concerns, definitely drop those down in the comments below. I am aware that there is a yellow wire acting for my ground and not a black one. I am limited on the wires I have at the moment until some more come in. I just thought I'd say that because I feel like otherwise someone will more than likely comment about it. All right.